Webinar, and today we're going to deal with conversion rate optimization. For those who don't know, conversion rate optimization is the process where you increase the percentage where the user takes action. This can be filling out a form, buying a product, etc. We have one of the world's best experts about this topic. I'm talking to the founder of Get Uplift. She has helped some of the largest companies in the world to boost conversions using emotions and psychology. She's taught on stages such as Google, MozCon, CTA Conf, SearchLove, and many more. She was recently listed as one of the most influential experts in conversion optimization. Today, she offers conversion optimization services, in-house training, workshops, and online courses. I'm talking about, of course, Talia Wolf. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's such a great topic, and I love it, and I love talking about it. Can you tell me, how did you get started with this field?
Yeah, I was actually working in a social media agency, and I was in charge of many clients, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn stuff. And most of our clients were just worried about likes and engagement. But for me, I was constantly trying to see, okay, what's the impact? Are my clients getting customers? Are they getting sales? Are they getting leads? What are they doing? And then kind of going from that point to figuring out, okay, how can I set up the right tracking to, oh, this isn't working the way I want it to. How can I make this better? And I went through this deep dive of trying to figure out what to do. So I would randomly change all sorts of things, and I would look at blog posts and just basically kind of ask people what they think. And I'd change the ad, or I'd change a landing page, and I'd just guess what would be the best thing to do and kind of test that out and see what happens. And I later understood that I'm actually in an actual field, which is called CRO. It was just at the beginning of it, there was maybe one or two agencies in the whole wide world that were doing conversion optimization. But the more I did it, the more I realized how much I loved it. And I started building my own process. I started my own agency with two partners, and we developed this process together, and we kept going and kind of optimizing again and again. And it was just something that I found myself doing without really knowing what I was doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And what's the biggest misconception about this field?
I think the biggest misconception is that people think that conversion optimization is about moving elements on the page in order to increase conversion. Oh, if I just make this button bigger or blue or red, it will work. And that's what conversion optimization is about. But from my research and from running thousands of tests, I can tell you that conversion optimization isn't about that. It's about solving people's problems. And more than that, it's about understanding how people make decisions in life, which I will get into today, how people make decisions, purchasing decisions, and what influences them. And then being able to create an experience for them, something that actually not only works for them and helps them and delivers the best value for them, but also helps you achieve your goals. And as a result, you're not only increasing just conversions, you're transforming your entire business because you're growing on every metric. So it might seem like a bit robust, but that's kind of, in my opinion, the biggest misconception. It's oh, let's move a button and that'll be fine.
Well, it sounds exciting. Let's dive right in. Show us what you brought us today.
All right. So today I'm going to be talking about emotional targeting and how you can leverage that in order to grow conversions and create a better user experience for your customers. So the first thing I do whenever I start working with clients is I ask them, why do they think people buy from them? What is the reason that your prospect chooses to buy from you or start a free trial with you or contact you for a demo or for a consultation over your competitors? And funnily enough, most people give me a very long list of features and pricing and technology and everything to do with the product itself. It's all about what the product is, the features, and the pricing. But I know for a fact that if this was the reason that people bought products or hired people for different services, then the biggest companies in the world would have landing pages like this, right? Coca-Cola would talk about the fact that they're the number one the number one drink in the world, but they don't do that. They don't talk about their calories. They don't talk about, what they're made of or how much it costs. You will never, ever, ever see a landing page like this from Coca-Cola. So why does the entire web look like this? This is what drives me nuts. You look at the biggest brands in the world that are online and they're like, Zoom, the number one video conferencing and web conferencing in the world. So, okay, cool. It's about us. Introducing the industry leading solution for government contractors. Ugh, it's just everything's about the product, right? And even the visuals, look at that. It's all like, here's a screenshot of our product and what it looks like. I can go on and on about this, but again, like number one cloud accounting software, the world's best UI components, and so on and so on. It's all about them. It's all about their product, the features, how much it costs, or my favorite, we're the number one, we're the best, we're the favorite. Everyone's talking about themselves. And the reason this happens is because we've somehow gotten into this mindset that we think that this is how people buy, that they come to a website and they're thinking, oh, should I buy this product or not? Should I sign up? Oh, and they go through this like elaborate product, like process of thinking, pros, cons, makes sense, doesn't make sense, yes or no. But the biggest brands in the world, and I'll take it even further, neuroscientists, psychologists, they all know, we've known this for decades. It's not me saying this. No, but this is not how people make decisions about anything in life. Not about what they wear in the morning and not about which software they choose to buy for hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. This isn't how people make decisions. This is every single decision in life that we make is based on emotion, whether we want to believe it or not. And I know that we love to think that we're rational people, that we make rational decisions, and that I'm not irrational, but that's exactly it. Whether if it's a B2C product or a B2B product, there's always emotion involved. And I'll give you an example because it's not going to be me, it's going to be science, okay? So Dr. Antonio Damasio, he ran a research with people who have brain damage. And these people have everything works, everything's okay, but the brain damage that they actually have is that they can't feel any emotion. No emotion at all. And what he found is that though they could go about their lives mostly doing the same, the one biggest problem that they had was that they could not make any decisions in life, not even what sandwich to eat. Like, this was a serious issue. And he understood that without emotion, there are no decisions. And that's why, you asked me before about, hey, what's the biggest misconception? What we need to understand is that emotions affect our decisions. And decision-making obviously affects conversions, because the way people make decisions of how to buy something or how to contact, if they want to contact someone, or the results that they're looking for affect conversions. And obviously conversions affect revenue. So what I want to say here is that no matter what you're selling, what people really care about isn't the what, it's the why. And this is super, super important. If you can focus on the value, on the desired outcome, on the emotional outcome that your clients or customers or users, whatever you call them, are aiming for, what they're looking for, and you know that back to front, you know what their pain is and what is the desired outcome, the value that they're looking for, that emotional value, you can create a high converting experience for them, no matter what industry you're in. And I want to show you an example.
Go ahead.
So this is a client of ours, was a client of ours, and what they do is they help you create beautiful infographics. And what's interesting here is that they came to us and they said, listen, we're not getting enough signups and for this product. And even people who sign up don't really use the product, they don't come back, and they definitely don't upgrade. So one of the things that we did is actually help them and ask them, hey, what have you tried so far? And again, this goes back to, hey, what's the biggest misconception? So they said, well, we tried reducing load time. We tried adding an exit pop-up. Oh, we changed the color of the call to action button. We removed a few steps in the funnel and we changed the headline. And I was like, okay, cool. Did that work? No, not really. It didn't work. And the reason that doesn't work is actually fairly simple. It's because we tend to look at conversion optimization as one of these things where you're like moving elements on the page. So you take a page, you duplicate it, you change the call to action button, you're like, woohoo, and nothing happens, right? And even if it does, like let's say the blue button won, or purple, and then I don't know if this is blue or purple. What does that even mean? Like, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to scale these results? And that's why I told you at the beginning that conversion optimization isn't about changing elements on the page. It's about solving people's problems. It's about understanding that real pain that people are feeling, what they're experiencing, and then understanding what the desired outcome is. So this is actually why I developed the emotional targeting methodology, because I understood after running that hamster wheel of trying things and moving elements on the page and nothing working, that if I understand the decision-making process of people, I can write copy, I can create designs, I can do everything in order to increase conversions. So we created this process and we found that there are over 223 different emotional triggers that actually impact people's decision making. And it's never just one, there's like two or three at play. It's impactful. There's a lot going on in that, in decisions that we're making. So what I actually want to tell you about today is 4 core questions that you need to answer. So if you're sitting in front of the screen right now and you're like, but how do I even get started? Well, here's 4 questions that you should be able to answer every single day. And it's okay if you don't know the answers right now, because I'm going to teach you how to answer those questions. But these are the core questions. And the cool thing about them is if you know the answers to these questions, you will be able to, like, no doubt, write high converting copy, create a high converting landing page, create an amazing email sequence, everything, like all that good stuff, and websites and everything. So question number 1, what pain does my customer feel before finding a solution? So what is waking them up at night? What is driving them nuts? What is just really upsetting them? And it could be from anything, from the smallest thing. I don't have a dog walker for my dog, or is it I have a huge issue of communication with my company who is spread all over the world, or it's COVID and everyone's working from home and I have a communicational issue with my team. What is that core feeling, that pain that they're experiencing right now before they find you? Then what are the emotional triggers that drive the decision making? What are their hesitations and concerns? So what are the roadblocks? They've come to your website, they've come to your landing page. Why are they not going for it? What's holding them back? And lastly, and probably the most important question, how do they want to feel after finding a solution? And this is emotional. It's not they want to save time. I'm not asking about, it's not save money, right? That's not it. They want to feel safe. They want to feel loved. They want to feel part of a community. They want to feel that they are in good hands. Where are they with that? What is that desired outcome? So how do we answer these questions? I'm going to show you 3 tested and proven ways to leverage emotion for optimization and actually answer these questions. So the quickest way to answer these questions is to start with the customer. So this is about running meaningful research. Now, hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about because you're in UX. So I'm gunning for this. You guys are going to be like, oh, we're not learning anything new here. This doesn't make any sense. So here's what I think about this. When I speak to clients or my students, I ask them, like, when was the last time you spoke to your actual customers and clients? When was the last time you ran a survey, you did an interview or something like that, and most of them say, we haven't, or we haven't done so in a year. A lot of people say, well, even when we run them, we don't really get interesting answers. So for me, when you're not making it about the customer, when you don't start with running meaningful customer research, it's more or less like saying, I'm going to plan this amazing, beautiful product because I know best and I know exactly what my customers need. And you spend months and months of pouring your heart and soul into this wonderful product, which you know absolutely, you're absolutely sure that everyone's going to love, all your resources, all the money, and then you launch it and you're like, no one's actually using this, right? And it happens to so many companies, which is just crazy, right? And you can actually you can avoid being in this position if you just run some customer-centric research. And what that means is using surveys for your customers and your visitors. It means running interviews. It means doing competitor analysis, not looking at the other websites and saying, oh, they have a button here or they have this feature, but competitor analysis from an emotional standpoint. You can do social listening, you can do review mining. It's never ending. There's just so much amazing things that you can do. And I want to share with you my top customer survey questions. So what this means is that with every client that I start working with, I put together a survey. It could be on Typeform, it could be on SurveyMonkey. Those are my go-tos. And I reach out to the customers who are already using my clients' software, already hired them to do some sort of job for them. And I ask them these questions. Number one, what was going on in your life or your day that made you search for this solution? So this is instead of the classical question, hey, why'd you come to our website today? And they would say, if you ask them that, they'll just go, I'm looking for, I don't know, I'm looking for a project management tool, right? That's what they'll say. But if you ask, what was going on in your life that day? Interesting. Well, that day I went to a meeting and this happened and this person really pissed me off and whatever. And they're like, oh, that's what led to it. And this helps us understand the pain that people were experiencing and not why they came to the website, because we don't really care.
Yeah.
When you weren't using this solution, how did you solve this problem? Super, super important question. And here's why. It's not about identifying your competitors. What we want to understand is beforehand, they had a problem communicating. I don't know. This is the example I've chosen. How did they solve this before? Were they using a competitor? You might actually find out that they were using email or a spreadsheet or a VA or who knows, or maybe they were not solving this issue. And why does this matter? Because when you're putting together messaging, for example, or high converting copy, what you want to reflect to your prospects is that you know them, you understand their pain, and you know what they've tried. And you can say, previously you've tried X, Y, and Z, and none of it has worked. You can say, I know you, and I'm not just saying, we've been there, we've done that, but you're actually proving, maybe you used a worksheet, maybe you hired a VA to do that task, maybe you did this, and it didn't work. Here's a solution that does. And that gives people, your prospects, the feeling and the understanding that you actually know who they are.
And it's important to say that if they're building websites for clients, they can use the same logic on their clients.
Of course, because when you're talking to your clients and you're saying, okay, why did you come to this? What were you doing? And if you're building, I guess it also depends, Ben, on if they're building a website for their client, they have to think about their customers, the client's customers, the client's users when they are planning this website too, because it's not only about the client that they're designing for, it's also about the people who are going to come to the website. So there's a lot of things here that are involved. And what you want to ask them is, hey, if you could no longer use this solution anymore, what would you miss the most? And this is a wonderful question because it's understanding the exact value that you actually deliver. Because if you ask, hey, what's the best thing about us? Then they'll say this feature, that feature, or this pricing. But if you ask them, hey, tomorrow, this product doesn't exist anymore, how would you feel or what would you miss the most? you will be surprised by the answers that people give you, and it will give you an understanding of what the real value proposition is. And lastly, what's the number one thing you'd mention to a friend if you wanted to convince them to give you a try? And that's a great way to get testimonials and also see how other people talk about you. So if you are building a website for your clients, or if you are creating a landing page for a software, or if you're building a website for yourself, all of this is about the end user and the person who's coming to the website itself. And it really does matter, because these are the things that will deliver the results that you're looking for. Now, I just want to say that I want to give you a pro tip, and that is that you want to keep asking why until there's no whys left. And the reason why this is so important is because, as I mentioned before, we tend to think that we're rational people. So if you ask people, hey, why did you sign up? They will tell you that it's because of features and pricing. And you want to go beyond that. You want to dig deeper. So I want to show you how you can do that by asking why. So the same client that I showed you before, when we were just getting started, that infographic company, we reached out with surveys and asked people what persuaded them to sign up. So how did they get over this roadblock, and what made them think, hey, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this company? And some people said, okay, you know, you had the most features. And we said, oh, cool, but why do you need so many features? Well, I needed something different than everyone else. Why? Well, I wanted to create something more memorable. Okay, cool, we're getting somewhere. Why do you need to create something more memorable? So I keep asking why, and they said, I needed to stand out, or I needed to be appreciated by my manager, my colleagues, my family, my friends. And this is what persuaded them to sign up, because they understood that the emotional value of using this type of product will allow them to improve their social image. Social image is a psychological trigger and an emotional trigger that is all about how we want others to perceive us and feel about us. And in this case, all these people who were using this infographic creator really wanted to know that their work is not going unnoticed, that they can create something that will really make them shine and elevate. So going back to this client of ours, this was their first landing page, which was also their homepage, by the way. And this is what we created. Make impressive infographics. So it's about their end result, not the easy to use infographic creator. It's about making impressive infographics. It's about showing the results, because if you look at their homepage, you'll notice, or this landing page, you'll notice that their hero image is a video showing you how to use a product. It's literally a drag and drop video. So we showed them the outcome, and by doing so, we got a 24% increase in registrations and 76% increase in creation of presentations and infographics. So this was huge for this company, just by, I guess, changing the whole aspect of it's not about the product, it's about them and their results and their emotions. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so let's talk about the next step. The next step is adding emotion to your copy. So many times I speak to people who say, well, we don't really have the capacity to do a redesign right now. And as people who do UX or people who build websites, you most definitely don't always have the option to do complete overhauls and complete redesigns. And sometimes it's about just proving the importance of messaging. So a while ago, I worked with Social Media Examiner, Social Media Marketing World, and they are an amazing, amazing brand. They have a huge blog, and they also have a conference that happens once a year in March in San Diego. And they hired us to help them essentially sell more tickets for this conference. And if you look at this landing page, at the sales page, you'll notice that it's nothing like the regular sales pages that you would see. It's not like the shiny, bright new sales pages. And yet this is what worked best for them. So we did our research and we tried to figure out, okay, what are the roadblocks? What are the issues? What are the emotional triggers? And after we did this research, we realized that the people coming to this conference were feeling confused. They were overwhelmed with the amount of stuff and speed the social media world keeps changing. They were unsure on what to focus on. They needed guidance. They didn't know where this world was going on towards. They needed focus. So what we did, believe it or not, so you saw this page, it goes on and on. There's 3,000 words on this page. And we went ahead and added another section to the page, even more copy. And this entire section, just copy, is about just the pain that they may be feeling and then painting the desired outcomes. So I won't go through the entire copy, but it says, if you're struggling to keep up with the ever-changing nature of social media marketing, this event is for you. And we break it down like, here's the pains, and here's what you could be doing after this conference. You could know all the strategies. You could 10x your ROI. You could form relationships with people. And just by adding this section, we got a 41% uplift in signups and 16% increase in sales and revenue. You don't have to do a complete redesign if you don't have the resources, the budget, the copy. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's about, sometimes it's about just getting that quick in with the client to prove that you can do something, and messaging can have a huge impact on it. And I think that one way to show this, and I'll ask you, Ben, I will show you two options and you will tell me, what do you think you'd convert to? So
sure, let's do it.
We have the #1 dog walking service in Washington. Contact us to book your dog's walk today. Cool.
Okay.
All right, this landing page is fine. It has that headline that I mentioned that I don't like, but cool, fantastic, great.
Everyone thinks they're #1.
Yes. You know what? Even if they are #1, who the cares? Fantastic for you. Good for you. Okay, maybe you'd convert on this page. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, here's option #2. Stop worrying at work. We've got your pup. We make sure your loved one gets daily exercises and a whole lot of love until you get home.
Oh,
choose.
I like, yeah, that's an easy choice.
Right?
Yeah.
It's about the message that
I don't have a dog, but for sure. I'm going to get a dog now.
Are you a cat person?
Yeah, but I don't have any only kids right now. But maybe...
No excuse. I have 3 kids too. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I think it's not that being #1 isn't important. It's just that when we live in the world that we live in, which is people, you know, we see thousands of messages a day and we tab jump, right? We jump from tab to tab to tab, looking for different options. What we need to see immediately is something that hits, something that resonates with us emotionally. Maybe lower on the page, they could say, hey, we're the #1 dog walking service. Who's going to prove them wrong? And maybe that's true, but it's not the immediate message that someone needs to see. So I want to give you a copy formula, an emotional copy formula that you can use in order to upgrade any website. So if you were hired now to do a website for your client, you can upgrade any website with this copy formula. Cool. So you take the feature that you're trying to sell and you add to the desired outcome that they're looking for, and that equals emotional centric copy. And I'll show you an example. So here is the feature. Okay, this is for an online parenting course. And the feature was that you get scripts. Maybe it's right for you right now, Ben. Word by word scripts. For sure. For handling back talk. Don't know about you, but my kid's 3.5 and he's already being cheeky. So that's the feature. Those are the scripts. Then we have the desired outcome. So what is the outcome that I'd love for? To confidently and calmly handle any crisis with my toddler. So we have the feature, which is the scripts, and we have the desired outcome. And that is to feel calm and confident and know that I've got this. So as you pair those two together, and it's word for word scripts you can rely on to handle any crisis confidently even during tantrums and stressful arguments. So we've taken the feature, we've added the desired outcome, and that is what makes it an emotional copy. For example, for a landing page software, you could say, build faster landing pages, right? That's some sort of feature because you won't need to worry about anything and you can do it quick. But the emotional value is that I won't have to deal with developers because sometimes they're hard. So you pair that together and you would say, build faster landing pages without having to rely on developers. The feature plus the emotional outcome. Or master the newest strategies for an online marketing course and gain your CEO's trust and confidence. So it's about pairing those two together. So that's kind of a quick way for you to use emotional copy on your websites. So a few other things that are important. Make sure that you focus on the value over the benefits and the features. Tell the customer's story. So remember, it's not about you. It's not about you being number one. It really isn't. It's about them. They are the heroes of the story. Relate to your audience. You can do that if you ask the right questions. If you ask them what they did before finding a solution, you can tell them how you use the same tools or how you tried doing the same thing, or you tried building a website this way, or you tried creating a landing page that way, or you tried, solving this with a spreadsheet before and it didn't work. That's how you relate. And most importantly, build a relationship. It's not swap us and hours into you or me or I, if possible. Okay, last thing, we spoke about meaningful customer research. We spoke about adding emotion to your copy. Let's talk about how to add emotion to your design, because I know that you guys are super enthusiastic about design, which is important. So it's not enough to just have the messaging. Obviously, the design has to amplify the message. And this is a really important thing because too many times, first comes the design and then you add copy. So many times you'll see like a lorem ipsum text and there's a beautiful design. So I want to encourage you to think of it in a different way. First, write the copy and then create design that heightens and amplifies the messaging. So first of all, let's go back to design basics. We see over 40,000 messages a day. Seriously, this is insane. And this was last year. I don't know what their current data is, but it's incredible. So we get pop-ups and notifications and ads and things coming to us 24 hours a day. So we need to go back to the basics, which means we need to reduce visual noise. We need to have less things going on in the page. Obviously, only one call to action button. You want to choose the colors that you're using. You want to think about the different elements that you have on the page, because the amount of colors, icons, the visuals, the font size, the layout, everything matters. You know this. This is something that you do and you excel in. Then sometimes we run to kind of, I guess, chase this new cool thing that everyone's doing, and we want to be ahead of everyone and we want to try these cool things, and we forget about the user. We forget about the person who's coming to the page, who's overwhelmed and has no idea what they're doing and what's going on and what they should be clicking on. So you want to reduce that visual noise. And I want to show you a funny example. So this is a software that runs heat maps and analytics. And they asked us, it's PT Engine, they're called, and they asked us to help them increase their signups and implementation rate of the tool that they were using, because it's a software. And we did some research, we did some surveys, interviews, and we ran some heat maps. And funnily enough, the biggest thing that we got back from people was that they couldn't understand how it said user-friendly website, web analytics and heat map platform, but everything moving around, there was this video in the background that was super cool, because it's cool to put videos in the background, but it was confusing people. It looked super hard because it was showing how the product works in the background. So we did this real crash test just to help them really quickly, and we simply removed the background. Sure, would I test this color normally? Probably not. But we simply removed the background and it increased conversions by 57%. It increased conversions by signups by 57%. And we then went ahead and, you know, added more white space, changed the ghost buttons, changed the messaging on the page, and we got an increase of 80% in implementation of the tool. So really it's about going back to those basics and remembering that you want to have a high contrast between the image and the page content so people can read the copy. Too many times I've seen websites and landing pages where you just can't read the copy. The image is beautiful, but it's impossible to read. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're using distraction clean hero images. And what I mean by that is nothing too, I guess, noisy that will stand out too much. I like to actually keep to the two rules of like 2-color rule, which means every image should have a maximum of 2 colors in it so that it doesn't stand out too much and take away from the call to action button or the copy itself. White space, white space, white space. I cannot say this enough. Let people breathe. There isn't enough white space anywhere. And 1 call to action button on a page. Now, what this means is not that you can only have one actual button, but it means that you're only asking people to take 1 action, not sign up and pay, not find out more and, I don't know, register. Just 1 button. Start now, get started, sign up, contact us. That's the call to action, but you also want to make sure that if you're adding more of those along the page, make sure the call to action button is the same color and has the same copy and it's repeating itself so that it's just 1 ask from people because there's too much going on. Remember, we're getting too many people asking us for things. So that's the design basics. Let's talk about using emotion in design. So let's say you've taken the time, you've done the research, you've written brilliant copy, and you are designing a website for Skype. And the messaging that you come up with is join the millions of people talking on Skype. Cool. That utilizes the bandwagon effect. Another psychological trigger, right? It's cool. Everyone's using us. Come join. It's a psychological trigger. We all want to do what everyone else is doing. Yeah. So you sit in front of the computer and you're like, ta-da! Boo! Skype, you failed. They don't have this website anymore, but it was like, I think this was a year ago when I found it. Great, hire me, I'll do your conversion. So the thing here is there's a dissonance, right? We're saying join the millions talking on Skype, but you're not using the visuals to make that happen. I would have expected to like see a map of the world with pins or seeing people from different walks of life from all over the world talking to each other to amplify the fact that there's millions of people using Skype. But instead they do the classic B2B. And guys, if you are now designing a website for B2B companies, it's so easy to go down that route of like a screenshot of the product on every different device. But that isn't persuasive and that isn't emotional. And it's not that people don't need to see that. They do probably need to see it, but not as the hero image later down on the page. And I'll show you an example. So this is a website that sells, what's it called? Why did I lose my, the word? So cameras and all sorts of privacy and security cameras. Woo, found the word. So this company sells security cams and they say have peace of mind knowing your house is secure. Cool. But then they show me a screenshot of a phone with like a shield on it and a few cameras. Not very helpful. This is another website that does that. You look at these websites and then you look at Arlo. Every single angle covered and you see a parent with their child, they're playing. No worries, there's no visual, there's no camera in sight, but you get it. You don't have to see the product. Now, I'm not saying that people that come to Arlo's website won't need to see the product. Of course they will at some point. But first, grab their attention before they go to someone else and lure them in with that emotion and make a promise with the visual and pair it with that message that you have. And
Plus,
I will show
the parent playing with the kid is very emotional.
exactly. And that is what these people were trying to say. Peace of mind, knowing your home is secure, right? This parent is playing with their child, not a care in the world. They're great. And that's what you're trying to say, right? Every angle covered. No need to worry. And that is super important when you're thinking about strategy and using emotion. So for example, we did this for a while ago for a company. They had, what they do is create custom birthday invitations for parents and their children. So this is their landing page. They had hundreds of thousands of people coming to this landing page / website every day. And what was happening is it said, okay, custom online invitations in minutes. That's about the product. Then you have all these features that say, here's how many layouts we have, here's how it works, here's this. Then the visuals themselves are just of the actual invitations. And there's nothing in here about the customer. It's all about the product. So we did our research and we figured out that these parents that are creating birthday invitations for their kids have two different emotional triggers that are, I'd say, really impacting them. The first one is social image. What other parents are thinking about them. So they want to create something that other parents will look at them and say, wow, this parent is killing it. They know what they're doing. So it's really important. But on the other hand, there was another part which was more important, and that's self-image. And that was that parents who are overworked, who have a lot on their plate, want to feel good about themselves as parents, and they want to know that they can create a beautiful experience for their child and create a beautiful birthday party for them. So that doesn't appear anywhere on this page, and that's why we created this variation. A great party starts with a great invitation, a visual that has nothing to do with what the cards look like or what the invitations look like, and it's more about the feeling that you get. It's about that desired outcome. And we also added some information about how it works and how easy it is, because we know that these parents are working and they've got kids and they've got a lot on their plate. So just by doing this, we got a 12% increase in in downloads, 18% increase in registrations, and 42% increase in paying customers. So going back to adding emotion to your design, help your visitor visually. Go back to the basics, all that good stuff we mentioned, white space, one call to action, no noise, no distractions. Use images that support your emotional message. So if you're trying to say something, use images to amplify that. Use images that people can relate to or aspire to be like. And it's super important because we want to see people like ourselves on the website, or we want to see people that we could be or we could become, because when we buy products or services, we're buying better versions of ourselves, better parents, we're better marketers, we're better gardeners, whatever it is. So use those images that people can relate to, and make sure that the emotion is consistent throughout the entire website, not just in the header section because it's cool. Okay, last piece. Let's have a pre-flight checklist before.
I love checklists.
Okay, cool. So number one, are you making it about yourself or are you making it about the visitor? Ask yourself, how many times did you mention yourself? How many times do you talk about your own features and products? Can the customer see them inside? And which means, can people see and feel the emotional outcomes that they desire? Are you using emotion in both your copy and your visuals? And most importantly, can people immediately see the why? And this is super, super important, because here's the thing about marketing in general, and that's, we all know what we're selling. We all know if it's a watch, if it's a dog walking service, if it's an ice cream, if it's an accounting software. We know the what. We know the how. So we know we've got automation, we have machine learning, we have 500 cones or flavors. We know that it has X templates or that it's user-friendly. But almost no one talks about the why, the actual reason behind it.
So true.
Very few organizations understand why people buy from them. And if you succeed in going deeper, in understanding those emotional triggers, in understanding how people make decisions in life, then everything you do can really amplify and create better websites and experiences for people and for your audience, and you'll get better results. So all this to say, stop asking what is your goal and start asking what is your customer's goal. That's it. That's me. Thank you very, very much. That's what I had to say.
I really love it. You know, those there are those videos that you, or lectures that you end and you automatically want to, you know, implement it and try to figure out how you're going to actually use it in your work, and that's simply great. Plus, I think you enjoy it more if you be more, if you're more creative, if you think about the emotional impact. You're gonna be a lot. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable, the process itself.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's also more rewarding because you understand the impact that you have on people, and you can constantly optimize, and you can constantly learn more and help people and really drive value versus just putting something out there in the world and hoping it will work.
We're just going to answer a few questions we got from the community.
Okay.
But first, you mentioned the funnel, that people think about a complex funnel, and your model actually shows that people can buy from emotion. They can buy pretty much immediately. So how do you think about, you know, the classic funnel: awareness, consideration, decision, as opposed to like impulse buying?
You know, I think that every business is very different than the rest. And if you're making a B2B decision versus a B2C decision, it can be very different. And emotion kind of gets into every step of that funnel. It can impact you on an ad, on the landing page, on a thank you page, even in an email. And what you want to do, what you want to use emotion for, is not just that immediate purchase. It's throughout the entire experience, because even once someone's converted, your goal is to keep them happy. It's to keep them coming back and to keep wanting to use your product. And the idea of using emotion is that when people understand the actual value of the product and not, oh, I can get this done. Because when you buy a tool, or you purchase a tool, for example, and you're like, okay, it helps me calculate something, or it helps me, you know, launch something quickly, that's cool. But if something else comes up, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go, who cares? Because it's just a tool.
Exactly.
But, right.
You want to build a relationship.
Right, exactly. And also, when your prospect and your customer understands that you know them, that you understand them, and that you are there for them to help their lives get better, that's when you create those long-lasting relationships. So emotion needs to be consistent throughout the entire funnel, from start to end. And there is no end, hopefully, because you want to keep them coming back. And they always, at the end of the day, the goal is so that they understand that there is so much more than just X. It's it solves a huge problem for you. So that's how I feel like why emotion is above everything at the end of the day.
You want to keep the flame going and keep them excited.
Yes.
So let's go on to we're excited to go on to the QA. So QA. So Roy Haddad asks, sometimes when dealing in CRO, we're prone into believing that the fix is apparent. What's an optimal approach that reduces biases? Like, what is a valid system philosophy that will give us the ability to make a sound decision?
I love that, because biases are everywhere, and I talk about cognitive biases all the time. Our personal beliefs impact the way we make decisions too. So it is a very good question. The way that I like to go about it is in two ways simultaneously. Number one, it's about using data to inform my decisions. So when I go into Google Analytics, I don't just search for something like, oh, here's something. First, I'm going to ask myself questions. I'm going to go into the analytics asking myself, specific questions so that I can find the right answer. And only then do I say, okay, so now I know where is broken and what is broken. Now, how do I fix that? And then the added part to it, so now I know that I'm mostly impartial because I can see the raw data. Now it's about making a decision of what's going to work and how can I avoid these biases and not go by, well, you know, my competitor did this, or I think because I am a designer or because I have experience that this works, is two ways. Number one, testing, because testing will forever tell you the truth, but also having more people involved in the process. And that's why customer surveys come in very well. That's why interviews come in very well. That's why review mining. When I go into a project, I'm using multiple platforms. I'm asking one question and I'm using multiple platforms in order to answer it and find common repeating themes. But I know that I can't avoid biases altogether. I just know that I'm going to have to be aware of them and test them.
I love review mining. It's so much fun.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, just getting people's, especially you know the people who are really crude and kind of have
Yep.
this is. So Scott Gingrich asks CRO for local service businesses, especially in lead generation.
Yeah.
Is there a specific way to approach CRO in local promotion, local business promotion?
You know, I think that it's a great question because it really also depends on like the traffic sources and the channels that are directing traffic to you. Because what you want to focus on is there's the tactical stuff and there's like the strategic part. The strategic part of it is making sure that that everyone is very well aware that you're local and that you are part of that community and that's where the emotion comes in. The tactical part of it is just making sure that you're driving the right traffic to the website, because I feel like when you're doing local marketing, that's usually the issue. It's driving the right people to the website. And that's why I think that most importantly, you need to think about the messaging so that when people come to the website, they know exactly where they've arrived to and they know that they're in the right place. So you can use tactics like, you know, welcome Melbourne or good morning and stuff like that, but it doesn't have to be that tactical. It can also just be an emotional message of showing specific testimonials from certain areas and from people in the same town or in the local space and so on.
Yeah, plus if we're talking about a country-wise and not just local, maybe also include some of the cultural references. If there's you need to get to know. I think that this whole talk we're talking about kind of diving deep into the customer and what is the culture of their client, what is their, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So Talia, how can people reach you and follow your content?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter. And most importantly, you can find us on getuplift.co, which is where we have tons of resources and workshops and webinars and all that good stuff to help you increase conversions. Is
there any upcoming event? I know you used to do event before all the COVID.
Ooh, yeah, no offline conferences for now. I'm doing a lot of webinars. But we do have quite a lot of new content and guides and workshops coming out. So that will be coming soon for sure.
Cool, Talia. Thank you very much. So everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this very actionable webinar and it was a pleasure for me. I know I'm getting back to with a few notes to our copywriters. Be sure to subscribe to this webinar series.
Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome to another weekly workshop with Optimize It. I am really excited about today's topic. Myself and my dog, who is on the floor, you can't see, but he's participating here and he's very excited too. As you know, this month is all about traffic optimization. So we're talking about all the different ways that you can optimize your traffic sources to increase your website conversions. So today, I'm diving into how you can get more conversions from your social media posts, campaigns, everything that you're doing on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that good stuff. It's kind of interesting because when I started out years and years ago with marketing, I actually started with social media marketing. So I worked for this small, really cool agency. We did social media marketing for companies. It's actually how I started the whole journey towards conversion optimization. So I was focused on creating all these campaigns and creatives and posts for our clients. And it was a really interesting process to go through. Now, I'm talking about like more than 10 years ago, right? But that's where I started. And I really had a ton of fun, and it did lead me onto the path of conversion optimization, because back then when I was working with different clients on social media, no one was even using Google Analytics to track their success. People were talking about likes and engagements and comments, when today, clearly, that isn't what gives you conversions and makes sure that you're growing your company and your ROI. So that's kind of the path. And today I'm going to be focusing on how you can actually use emotion. So, this is my forte, how you can use emotion, persuasion, psychology to optimize your social media campaigns and posts and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to dive straight into it. I'm going to stop my camera, share my screen, and let's get started. Okay, so today's workshop is all about using emotion to increase your social media conversions. Now, as you know, I like to keep these workshops as actionable as possible, meaning I want you guys to have a new Google Doc sheet open or a pen and paper if that's your thing, because it is mine, I admit. Try putting your phones on silent. I know that's hard. And definitely closing all the other tabs that you have open, or at least minimizing them, because we're going to take the next 30 to 40 minutes to really dive into the different ways you can use social media and emotion to increase conversions. And my goal is that once we are finished with this workshop, you can literally jump off this workshop and go optimize everything that you're doing in social media. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about why emotion is actually the missing key. Oh, I love how it just says to your conversions on social media. That's fantastic writing. How to tap into customers' emotions and understand their goals, social media examples that attract and win customers, and 4 actionable tips for leveraging emotion in your social media campaigns to boost conversions. So I'm going to be showing you really in-depth examples. We're going to be analyzing them. I even have some video examples, which is pretty cool because I haven't done that in a very long time. So yeah, let's get started. First, I thought I'd talk about the numbers. So interestingly enough, according to Social Media Examiner, this is their report from 2018. I was just talking to the founder, Mike, and they're coming out with a new one, their new report in just a few weeks, but I'm using this one. So according to Social Media Examiner, 3 million businesses use Facebook and actually social media to market themselves. It's incredibly interesting to see. Facebook ads are used by 72% of marketers. Instagram is used by 31%, and it goes on. So that's about 3 million businesses using social media to market themselves every day. And these brands, they're texting us, they're calling us, they're emailing us, they're targeting us in their ads, they're targeting us in their social media posts. They're everywhere, and they're overwhelming us with all of their content. Now, and all their offers. In fact, we're so used to being targeted by brands today that our brain automatically just tries to block out all that noise and ignore those ads. So our brain does a lot of work when we're kind of scrolling through our feeds and we're looking at different things. Our brain goes to maximum trying to maximum just like remove all those ads from you, and so you don't see anything, and kind of gives you that blind spot. Now, millions of businesses they base a huge part of their revenue stream on social media. So they must be getting through to us somehow, right? I mean, some of them are doing a kick-ass job. So how do some brands manage to drown out all that noise and reach us? What separates the successful ones from the rest? And this is exactly what I want to talk about today, because this is what you're going to be doing right after our call. So one of the things that I love to ask, and you may have seen me ask you guys this before, is why do you think people buy from you? It's a very important question to think about and consider with everything that you're doing. So most people seem to think that it's to do with the features that they have, the shipping, the benefits, the different pricing that they have on their product or their service. So a lot of things to do with the product or the service that they're offering. Everything is about that service or product. However, as I've mentioned countless times, I truly believe that if this was the reason that people buy things, if this was the people that made, if these were the reasons that made people purchase stuff or sign contracts or hire different contractors, then the biggest brands in the world would have landing pages like this. Coca-Cola would talk about the fact that they're the #1 soft drink in the world, and they'd be talking about the fact that they have only just 140 calories, and they'd show the image of the bottle and whatever. So it would all be about the product. However, as we all know, this is not what Coca-Cola does, right? So why do so many ads and posts and landing pages and websites focus on this, on benefits, solutions, on pricing, on features? What makes us all just say, oh, this is the right approach to it? So here is my 2 cents on that. We have somehow convinced ourselves after, from years and years of experience, that this is how people buy, right? So we need to decide between a contractor or a SaaS product. And we go through this elaborate part of stage of thinking and rethinking and considering the pros and the cons. And then we reach this, rational decision that makes complete sense, all to do with logic. So we think people buy this way. And that's why everyone focuses on the features that they're offering, the pricing, the products, and stuff like that. However, the most successful brands in the world, and my students and you guys know that this isn't how people buy, this is. Okay, so every single thing that we buy in life has an emotional reason to it. We're going to cover this a lot more during our emotional targeting month later on this year, where I'll dive into specific emotions and how to use them. There's so many. But unfortunately, guys, we are all irrational and all our decisions are based on emotion. The way it works is we have some sort of issue that we're facing, or we're trying to figure out if we should buy something or not, or hire someone or not, and our emotions kick in. We make a decision according to our emotions, and then logic kicks in, and essentially what we do is we rationalize that decision. Now, I know it's a very hard thing for people to accept. People hate admitting that they're irrational. No one believes it. So I always like to tell a story about myself. And you may have heard this before, but my biggest fear in life is flying. I absolutely hate planes. Now, if you know me, you know that I travel a ton. I'm speaking all over the world. I'm doing workshops at different companies. So I'm flying a lot, and it really is a big thing for me. Like, I have a very hard time doing that. But even though this is my biggest fear in life, I still found myself doing this about 8 years ago. So I jumped out of a freaking plane. Now, I would love to say that I was doing this because I've always wanted to jump out of the plane, or I'm an adrenaline junkie, or I don't know, all sorts of weird, crazy reasons for people who want to jump out of the plane. But I have to admit that that is far from true. In fact, the reason I jumped out of a freaking plane was because I wanted to impress a guy. I kid you not. I wanted this guy that I met at the skydiving club. I wanted him to think that I was this cool adrenaline junkie person. I wanted him to be impressed by me. So I jumped out of a plane. Funnily enough, this guy today is married to one of my friends, and nothing happened with that. But it really is an interesting concept because this is how people buy. And I know this is an extreme example, but everything we buy is based on emotion. There's always some underlying emotion, desired feeling, desired need that lies underneath all of our purchases. So maybe we want to feel loved, perhaps we want to feel part of a community, maybe we want to feel more successful, sometimes we just want a higher self-esteem. Whatever it is, we have to remember, and this is true for B2C and B2B, guys, really important to know this, that no matter what you're selling, what people really care about isn't the what, it's the why. What's in it for them? What's the value? How is this going to make them look? How is it going to make them feel? Is this achieving their emotional goals? But as I mentioned, most of us focus on the numbers, the graphs. When we think about our customers or our target audience, we think about numbers. We think about browsers, devices, geographical location. And that's why when you look at social media posts, you see all sorts of things to do with the product, its pricing, and many other things that have nothing to do with emotion. Let me show you an example. So over here we have a company that talks about the fact that they have various colors available of this gorgeous dress, and it's 30% off. So the specific focus here is on the price and the fact that the dress is gorgeous. And over here on the right hand side we have the company talking about that it's 14 days absolutely free. So they're talking about pricing, and they talk about the fact that they are the world's number one landing page builder, absolutely free today. So everything that you see in these ads in front of you is to do with the product itself, the service that they're offering, and how cool it is. It's all about the features and pricing. There's nothing in here about emotion. Because, and this is something that, and you know, this isn't about shaming or saying that something, you know, that all these specific companies are wrong, because we're all doing this. Everyone, we're all guilty of this specific thing, where we've all forgotten that there are people behind the screens, people that need help from us. So as I mentioned before, the most successful brands that grab our attention and convert us are those that understand the people behind the screens. They know our pain, our challenges, the outcomes we wish for, they understand the emotions, and they know how to reflect those back to us in their ads, campaigns, and websites. So they're using images and videos and text and copy and other elements in their ads or posts to essentially really influence our emotions. And these companies have really done their research. They know what emotions influence their specific target audience, what makes them stop everything that they're doing and click on that ad. Now, brands that know their audience well understand that people buy products and services because of how they make them feel, not because of the rational benefit behind them. They know that using emotion is the key to standing out in a crowded market and grabbing a prospect's attention. So all of this stuff is super, super important. And it's also important to remember that when someone's on your website or when someone's reading your ad or clicking on an ad, that's because they have some sort of pain. And it's our job to fix that pain. So I want to talk to you about how you can get started with the same things as the biggest brands. And the good thing is that you don't need any, you don't need like huge amounts of resources. You don't have to have a huge budget. anyone can use emotion to increase their conversions, and especially on social media. So that essentially is this whole thing that we've been talking about until now and all these issues that we face as marketers is actually what made me create the emotional targeting methodology. So if you haven't heard of it yet, and I do speak about it a lot, it's all about understanding people on a deeper level. So it's more than a demographic features like gender, location, profession, income. So when I ask my students or my clients, who is your target audience or who's your customer, mostly I get a list of all these behavioral elements of the devices and the browsers and their age and income and geographical location. But this specific methodology is actually built to understand the people behind the screen. We focus on the real challenges and the pains that prompt people to come to your website and the pains and challenges that they want to solve. So just to give you a quick example of what I mean by that is, let me show you a quick case study. So this company essentially does, helps you create beautiful infographics and presentations in your company. Now, when you look at this page, you'll actually notice that they're making a lot of the mistakes that we've been speaking about today. So their headline is easy to use infographic creator. So it's about the platform. They have 6 different bullet points, all about their features and the pricing and why this product is the best. And their main hero image is a how to use video. So literally a video that shows you how to drag and drop different things. Now, the thing about this is that they hired us to help them not only increase their signups, but they wanted to increase people's engagement with the product. So people who would create many more presentations, many more infographics, and really invest their time in this product. But as I mentioned, there are many issues on this page. It's focused on the product. Nothing in here on this page is actually addressing anything to do with the customer. Now, we did our emotional targeting research. I'm not going to get into that today. We have, as I said, a whole month dedicated to emotional targeting research and understanding those emotions. But there are a few things that we realized when we were doing our research. One of them is that these people who were candidates to using this product are marketers. And these marketers, they wanted to stand out. So their emotional trigger was actually social image. They wanted to have their team, their managers, and the people around them appreciate the work that they do. And they were searching for ways to highlight their hard work. Using a simple PowerPoint or Keynote wasn't enough for them. They wanted something that would make people remember them. The other thing that we realized through our research was that people were really worried about the complexity of this kind of product. So it was really important that we would highlight the fact that it's simple and easy to use, because the people using this product are not designers. They're marketers, just like you and I. Okay, so this was the first variation we created, and it was about make impressive infographics. So instead of easy to use infographic creator, it now says make impressive infographics. And this focuses on empowering the customer. We also reduce the stress of how complex and hard it is by saying, you can create these in less than 10 minutes. And instead of showing a visual of how to drag and drop the product, you actually get a visual of the outcome of what it could look like. And of course, we made various changes and many different other things, like a bigger call to action button. We removed a lot of the bullet points. We changed a lot of it, but most of it is now focused on the person behind the screen and putting those emotions up front. Now we got a 24% increase in registrations and a 76% increase in creation of presentations and infographics. So more people were using the product. Interestingly enough, if you haven't seen this one before, this is the second variation we created for them. Again, there's nothing in here about the product. You'll notice there's no image, there's no cartoon of the product. It's actually a rabbit in a hat. It's a magician. And interestingly enough, this actually increased their revenue by 74%. So why am I telling you all this? Because before we dive into the ideas and tips that I have for you, and I have so many today, I just wanted to once again reinforce the idea and the concept that emotion is imperative. And it's not just in social media, it's with everything that you do, because emotions affect decisions, decisions affect conversions, and obviously conversions affect revenue. So let's dig into the ways that you can use emotion in social media. And specifically, I'm going to talk a lot about Facebook ads, because I know that that's what most people have been asking me about. So how you can do that to grab your prospects' attention and convert them. Okay, so what I thought we'd do is I'd start with showing you a few examples of companies who are doing it so well, and then I'll show you how you can do it. So here's an interesting and such a cool ad by Nike.
Post from someone, opinion from someone, belated birthday wishes from someone, picture of someone's baby, 753 more pictures of someone's baby, someone checked into an airport, someone on vacation telling you they like being on vacation, someone you've never met wants to be your friend, someone likes music, someone you don't remember likes something, live stream of kittens, someone comments about something, someone comments about the comment, someone invites you to join a game you don't want to play, someone shares a petition to save narwhals, an ad for that thing you already bought.
No shoes, no product, no pricing, no features. They're simply making it about the customer. I think this is one of the most brilliant videos I've seen by Nike that is so appropriate for the channel. And remember that you can use emotion in different channels. You can use it on your landing pages. You can use it on your website. But what's really cool is that you can adapt emotion and you can use it to target the specific people that are on the different pages or the traffic sources. And this is done so well. Again, there's nothing in here about the product. It's just about saving you time and kind of taking, the minute to tell you, hey, you spend so much time on your Facebook feed, and wasting time is basically what they're saying. So here, we saved you like 45 minutes. Let's use that time to go for a run. That's it. Let's look at another example. So Thinks is a really cool company, and they use their ads on Facebook to actually address the biggest concerns that their customers have. And I think this is brilliant. So they surveyed their customers, they understood, and we talked about surveys back in January about how to run successful surveys. If you haven't watched those, go to our blog and you'll find all those there. But what's really cool is they surveyed their target audience and their customers, and they came up with the biggest questions and concerns people have before purchasing their product. And let me show you. So this product is insane, but essentially these are period-proof undies. So what they did is they used their ads to answer people's questions. So it says, I have sensitive skin. What are Thinks really made of? So they just answer the question: cotton, nylon, and magic. Question 2, how hygienic are Thinks? Squeaky. Are Thinks a replacement for tampons and liners? They definitely can be. What is in everybody? What's in for everybody else? We have a give back, yay. When it's time to pitch and replace, 2 years with proper TLC. So they go really in depth, and I just really love this, because this is a phenomenal example of companies that understand their target audience. They took the time to really understand what's stopping people from buying them, their emotional response to it, and they addressed it. So here's a few more examples of that and how they did it. But essentially, they really do not only answer people's questions, but they also show the different visuals so that you feel comfortable. So even though the product is the center of these ads, it really works so well because it addresses the biggest concerns people have. Shopify also does a fantastic job where they say, get more out of life. So here's the thing. They know that when someone starts their own business, and that's usually what people do with Shopify, they start their own e-commerce business, it's not just about starting a business and making money. So you start your journey 3, sell online, in store, and on Facebook with Shopify, build your brand on the biggest e-commerce. So you can see on the bottom, they do mention the product, but they talk about getting more out of life. The image has nothing to do with what a Shopify store looks like, because starting your own business means that you're going to get more out of life. You're going to go on that trip you've always wanted. You're going to be set free, and you can do whatever you want. So everything in this ad is geared towards that promise, that emotional kind of feeling that people have. So when you're thinking about, should I start my own business or not? These are the different emotional triggers that persuade people to start their own business. Now, Lego is one of my most famous examples. I love using them. This is a very, very old ad, but I want to show you an old ad, and I'm going to show you a new ad. So obviously social media did not exist during this time when this ad came out, but see how cool this is. So when you're looking at the ads, it says what it is beautiful. And most of these kids are holding different things that they've built that don't really have, except for maybe the planes, that don't really have a purpose. And the idea here is that it's about being proud, happy, and content. Because when you're selling to parents, parents don't really care about the type of game that their kid is playing. But when you say, hey, kids who play with Lego become proud of themselves. They feel confident, and whatever they build, they feel very good. That is something that a parent buys. So they're not buying the opportunity to allow their kid to build a plane or a castle or a Batmobile. What they're actually purchasing is happiness, content, pride for their child. So this is an old magazine an old magazine ad, and I want to show you one of Lego's ads from not too far away. So Lego says, inspire young innovators with a gift of Lego technique, architecture studios, and mindstorms. One of the sentences they said was, they're in messy rooms everywhere. This is basically an adaptation of what they used to do in the 50s and 60s, which is, we don't talk about what you can build, which they do actually, but you don't really talk about what you can build with it. But more importantly, you talk about these kids and their bright future, because if you are a kid who is playing in a messy room with Lego, then your kid might end up a huge scientist that invents the next biggest technology piece. So it really is fantastic. And here's another example of Lego. They're just so brilliant, the way they use Lego to show you that you can actually achieve your dreams. So kids that play with Lego could become astronauts, they could become rock stars, they could be firefighters, but whatever they want to do, they'll feel proud, they'll feel happy, they'll be smart, and they'll be productive kids. And that is essentially selling to parents. So Lego isn't about that plane, as we said, or the castle. It's about something so much bigger. It's the emotional value. Duolingo is a really cool example. I love it. It's an app that helps you to learn different languages. So they teach you German and English and French and all sorts of stuff like that. But what they did is essentially put an ad on Facebook that says, our High Valerian course is here, perfect for when you need to inquire where your dragons are. Don't wait for winter to come, start now. Fantastic, fantastic way of using emotion, because everyone's into Game of Thrones. Fortunately, it's the last season coming out very soon. But everyone's into Game of Thrones, everyone loves it, and it is a fantastic way of triggering those emotions, creating that affinity with people, and getting people to click on their ad. Okay, so these were just a few examples of some really cool brands and how they use emotion. And now I want to dive into 4 ways that you can leverage emotion to boost social media conversions. So number 1, and this is probably the most important one, is that emotional value always triumphs the benefit. So rather than focusing on the service or the product that you're selling, make sure that you are focusing on the outcome. And again, this is not just about Facebook ads. It's also your Facebook posts, your tweets, anything that you're doing on LinkedIn. Always, when you're thinking about your messaging, focus on the outcome that people are going to get. So how will people feel after buying your product or your service? to grab people's attention, you really need to make a promise. So what is the one thing people will walk away with after buying your product or hiring you? So, for example, I gave this example a couple of weeks ago. A task management platform like Trello or Asana, they're not selling the ability to get a task done. They're selling the opportunity to sort out all that mess that you have in your head, reduce the stress, and perhaps even impress your manager or your colleagues. So that is the emotional outcome. So when you're thinking about writing your next post, or if you're thinking about writing, a new ad or whatever it is, I want you to think about the fact that emotional value triumphs, and it always wins from the benefit. So let's put theory into action. Mel Robbins is a really cool example. She has an online course, and in her ad, she speaks directly to the camera and she says, imagine for just 1 second how awesome it would be if you could stop holding yourself back. So she says this to the camera, and she introduces her online course for building self-confidence. She jumps straight into the emotional turmoil of self-doubt, and holding yourself back. She shows segments of videos of people hugging her and thanking her for saving their life. She taps into the real desire of her target audience. Now, this is about starting your own business, but she doesn't focus on how much it costs or what you're going to learn or, the different steps you have to take in order to enroll in the course. She just focuses on that promise for a better life and a higher self-esteem. So she really focuses on the challenges that people face. She shows videos of people thanking her, and there's no mention of features, and it's really focused on the emotional value. So this is tip number 1. When you're looking at your ads, when you jump off this workshop today, I want you to go to your Facebook ads or to look at your tweets or to look at your Facebook posts and ask yourself, am I focusing on the emotional value or the benefit? Tip number 2 is telling a story. So this is a great quote that I love. Stories are personal and emotionally compelling, engage more of the brain, and thus are better remembered than simply stating a set of facts. Now, we've all seen these happen. This thing happen where there's a huge cause with hundreds, sometimes of thousands of casualties that need urgent donations or resources and help. And unfortunately, they struggle to get that help, right? So they're trying, but they just can't get it. But suddenly, a compelling story about one person's journey, their struggle, their challenges, turn everything around, and suddenly donations come flooding through. This is actually the power of telling a story, because for us, we as people, we don't really register numbers and graphs. What we register, what we take in is emotions. And it's that compelling story that people tell you. So we don't remember numbers, statistics, or even pricing. What we do remember is how people make us feel. And I think that is a really important thing to know, because the more compelling the story, the more personal and similar your story or the story that you're telling in your ads or in your posts, the more compelling it is, and the more similar it is to your target audience or to your customer story, the more it will resonate, the better it will resonate and inspire action. Now, one thing about telling stories that you need to know, and it's very important to remember, is that you are not the hero of the story. Your customer is. And what I mean by that is that if you think about every story you've ever heard of, ever in your life, from Harry Potter to Star Wars to, those are my favorite ones. But every story you can think of has 2 main characters that are really the main characters in the story. And what normally happens is that this everyday character who has who's just a regular person, just like you and I, is faced with a challenge. Something happens and they need to solve it. And sometimes they try and they try and they try and they fail and they just can't. And moments before they're about to give in, suddenly a wild person appears, a mentor, right? So this would be Dumbledore or Yoda. Someone appears and changes everything for them. Now, this person, this mentor, like Yoda, for example, they are not going to solve all the problems for Luke Skywalker. He's not going to do things instead of him. What he's going to do is empower empower Luke to become the hero he was always meant to be. So the mentor is always there to guide them. And in marketing, you are that mentor. You are that company, that mentor that's going to help them find a solution to their problem and solve it, but they are the heroes, not you, not your product, and not your features. So a single person's journey can move us to tears, laughter, empathy, and change our behavior or even our beliefs. You know, that is the power of storytelling. Personal stories that resonate and spark emotions within us, they cause us to take action. So really, it's something that you want to think about how you can leverage storytelling. Now, there's different ways. You can use video ads and copy to tell a compelling story, but you can, you don't have to have videos. And I know I showed quite a few examples, but I'd like to put theory into action, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So as I mentioned, the best stories are those that resonate with your prospects and make them say, whoa, that happened to me, or oh my God, that's me, or damn, that could happen to me. So Sharni and Julius have a great example here. It's a Facebook ad. She teaches how to do workouts at home. And she says, I have 6 kids, so my workouts have to be short, at home, and potentially involve the kid. Fit Mom is all I do. It works for me, and the support group is amazing. You can join us here. So the image in here is fantastic. It's phenomenal. So you have 3 kids in the image. I don't know how she has 6, but you have 3 kids in this image, in this photo. And it is so realistic, right? Because amongst us, the people who are parents know that when you have a ton of kids, or when you even have one, things can be messy. You don't have the time to put on fantastic clothes, go to the gym, and work out. Sometimes you just have to do it at home. And this is a story that resonates with so many different people, especially her target audience, which is parents. By the way, this is an ad that I used. So it's a whole story about the way that I sat for 20 hours, and I kid you not, trying to book the Harry Potter show on stage in London. It made no sense. I had a newborn at home, and I was adamant I was going to sit there until I could purchase the tickets. Spoiler alert, I didn't get the tickets. It was crazy. The sale went on, and I didn't manage to get them. But I did do it again a month later and got the tickets. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because this ad is for our masterclass for emotion sales, and it's where I teach how to use emotion. And it's just an example of how you do irrational things in the name of emotion. And I'm sure that we all have a weird story or irrational story about that one time we did something that made no sense, complete nonsense. Everyone thought that we were crazy, but we did it anyhow. And that's the power of emotion. So I use this in ads. Now, it was a very successful ad, and I know that some of you may think, well, I don't think long copy works, and people don't read, so we should really have short ads. And as you can see on the left, Sharni and Julius do have a short ad with short copy. But I do want to say something. I found many, many times that when the story is compelling, when you tell a story that people want to read, the content can be as long as you want. In fact, I have consistently found specifically that our Facebook ads with longer copy work significantly better than the ads with short copy. So here's another example, one on the left with short copy and one on the right with long copy. And the one on the right with the longer copy had almost 200% more conversions than the shorter one. So people do read, you just have to give them a reason to. And that reason is a story. So these are just a few examples of how you can tell stories. And as you notice, I didn't share videos because not everyone has the budget to create a video. Though you don't have to have a budget to create a video. Simply using your phone to film yourself or asking customers to film themselves on their phone is more than enough. But we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so we talked about the fact that emotional value, it always wins the benefit, and we spoke about telling stories. Number 3 is optimizing for strategic images. So one of the most important rules that I follow with every landing page, email, ad, or post that I follow is that you can't just say it. You have to make people feel it. It's actually one of the biggest pillars of my emotional targeting framework, and it's based on the emotional effects that images have on us. So don't just say it, make them feel it. The images and the colors that you use in your Facebook ads or posts or on Twitter really have a huge impact, and they will determine if people see your post, or if they just and think it's worth giving it a moment to consider. Check out your guide or click on the ad or engage with you versus leaving. So all the images that you choose have to be really compelling, and they have to make people stop on their tracks. So, and here's the thing about that. Because I mentioned at the beginning that we see so many ads and so many brands are trying to target us, those colors and images are key to actually grabbing people's attention. And the thing about it is that it doesn't need to be an image of your product like over here. So this company uses on the left, it says hot sale up to 75% off, save $5 with this coupon code. So very, very direct, strategic in terms of sales, but it's just an image of their product. And at the end of the day, as we said, images not only have the job of grabbing people's attention, but they also make people feel a certain way. So on the right, we have an image by Google, and it's basically get $300 to try Google Cloud Platform. So this is very product oriented, and they're not doing such a good use of their images. However, this is very common, because when it comes to choosing images, most ads, similarly to, by the way, to landing pages and websites, tend to use an image of the product that they're selling or something to represent it. So what I would actually love to see you guys do is use strategic images. So Lego and Slack highlight the value of their product versus what it is. So Lego highlights the pride and the happiness that kids feel when playing with Lego, and imply the kind of future that your kids could have if they play with Lego. And Slack focuses on the relief that you'll feel and the fun you can have without all those meetings and all that time that you basically taken away from your actual work because you have to sit in a meeting. So Slack spares you that pain. And it really is cool, because when you think about it, these images aren't images of the product. On the left, Lego doesn't use an image of what the box of Lego looks like. And on the right, Slack doesn't show a screenshot of what their product looks like. They're just talking about the emotional values. So when you're thinking about choosing your images and your colors, think about testing a few different visuals for your ads. Videos work really well, but images go a long way too. Now, you can brainstorm with your team about the possible outcomes and the value you get from using your product or your service, and then show that in your posts. Most importantly, talk to your clients, survey them or their customers, and ask about the values and the benefits. Again, if you go back to our blog, then we have, in January, we discussed customer surveys and interviews at length, and we gave you bulletproof worksheets and templates that you can use to get to know your customers better and really understand those emotions that they're looking for. And then you can portray them back to people in your posts or in your tweets or your videos. So that was tip number 3, using images not just to grab people's attention, but also to make people feel in a certain way. Tip number 4 is leveraging social proof. So social proof is one of the most powerful tools you can use on any page, let alone in social media. There's power in numbers, and the more people we see going in a certain direction, the more appealing it is to us. So mention the number of people or the clients or the customers who are already using your solution. Now, remember that social proof isn't just there to tell people how amazing your product or your service is, it's there to remove roadblocks. So testimonials and reviews can be used to reduce common concerns that people have, hesitations, and address specific questions that come up from people. And you can even use written testimonials as the ad copy, or you can include screenshots of mentions and reviews that you've received. So rather than people having to take your word that your service includes round-the-clock customer service, you could actually just use a customer story detailing how, I don't know, a specific representative helped them out at 2 a.m. To solve an issue. So that is so much more powerful than you saying, hey, we have 24 hours of support. So let me show you a few examples. Over here, Christmas Abbott, she uses social proof. Wow, over 11,000 people are joining my BBX challenges. The person that you're seeing in this screenshot is not Christmas Abbott. It's one of her people who took her challenge, and this program changed my life. So it's a video, and as you can see, this woman is just using her phone. So you can go a long way in terms of authenticity, using regular phones to do your videos. You don't have to spend a ton of money on branding videos and beautiful videos like Lego might do. So this is an example of how you can use numbers to amplify your social proof, and just have testimonials of people talking about the change that you made for them. Over here is an example of someone who just is giving you a testimonial, and they just actually say, my back pain ruined my life. I was working 12-hour days at a call center. And this guy goes on and explains how tough his life was and how this company saved it. So personal stories, testimonials can be used very well in Facebook ads, or in your posts. And this is one of my favorite ones, obviously, from Ellen DeGeneres to Norm Kelly. People can't stop raving about these no-tie shoelaces. So what they did is essentially just put in a screenshot of Ellen DeGeneres' quote, "If there are 3 things that I love, it's Canadians, a good cause, and no-tie shoelaces." Phenomenal use of social media, of social proof. Not all of us can get Ellen DeGeneres to promote us, but you don't have to have a big brand or someone, an authority that gives you this testimonial. Not that it hurts, but any customer, any client of yours who can provide a genuine testimonial or review is perfect. And you can look on Twitter, and you can look in Quora, and you can look on LinkedIn. People are having conversations about you somewhere, or about your industry somewhere online, and you can use that as a great way to promote your product. Okay, so let's summarize. Here are your next steps. I want you to review your social media ads and posts, and I want you to think about what are you highlighting, the value or the benefits? Are you telling the customer's story versus your own? Do your images and colors support the emotional strategy that you are going for? And can you leverage social proof? These are the 3 things that I would focus on, that I would do right now when this workshop is over. You don't have to start thinking, I mean, it's a great idea, but you don't have to start crafting new stuff. Just go back to what is already running, is already live, and see if you can optimize it with these 4 tips. Okay, so here's the interesting thing about emotion that we didn't talk about. Emotion doesn't only just get you to buy things. It's not just about that initial purchase where you target people's emotions and that's it. They buy from you one time and they're gone. In fact, emotion keeps people buying. And when you focus on emotion, when you start integrating emotion into everything that you're doing, in your emails, in your pricing pages, and the stories that you tell on social media, you're not only going to get first-time clients or customers, but you are going to keep people for much longer because they will see the value in what you're offering. The best example I can offer is me. So I started telling you about my biggest fear in life and how I hate flying and how I jumped out of a plane for a guy. But here is the interesting thing. Today, I have over 800 jumps. I am a skydiver. I absolutely freaking loved jumping out of a plane. It was incredible. So this is such a self-empowerment film, right? So I didn't get the guy, but I felt so much better. So after jumping out of that plane, I felt so good about it. I had to do it again. I jumped again. I did the course, and I became a professional skydiver. And I did all sorts of competitions, and I flew all over the world. And it's funny because I still am very scared of flying. But what's cool about it is that I love the way skydiving makes me feel. And that is actually the key to marketing in general. When you understand the emotional value that you get from using a product or from connecting with a certain freelancer or a service or a SaaS business, then you will stay for longer. You will connect and you will become a lot more connected to this company. So emotion doesn't only make you buy one time, it keeps you coming back. So remember to stop asking what is your goal and start asking what is my customer's goal. And the reason for that is actually pretty simple, because only when your customers achieve their goals will you achieve your own. So it's my favorite quote by Brian Eisenberg, my dear friend. And I think this is where I'm going to leave you. So thank you very much for joining.